For nearly 30 years, the WNBA existed in the shadows, half-empty arenas, games hidden on obscure channels, and superstars often ignored. Then she arrived, Caitlin Clark. One rookie, one season, and suddenly, a league that once struggled for attention became impossible to overlook. How did a single player change everything? What made her unstoppable? Records were shattered. Arenas sold out. Television ratings skyrocketed. A true force of nature, rewriting the rules of women's basketball. This is the Caitlin Clark effect. Quiz. What made Caitlin Clark unstoppable in her rookie WNBA season? A. Sold-out arenas. B. Record-breaking performances. C. Skyrocketing TV ratings. D. All of the above. Think you know the answer? Drop your choice in the comments. I'll reveal the truth later. The spotlight effect. Here's what people don't tell you about being a transformative figure. You don't just bring the light, you expose everything the light touches. When Caitlin Clark was selected first overall by the Indiana Fever in the 2024 at the WNBA draft, a draft that drew 2.45 million viewers, quadrupling the previous record, she didn't just bring fans into the arena. She brought an intensity of scrutiny the league had never experienced before. Suddenly, the cameras weren't only focused on the court. They were aimed at everything: charter flights, hotel accommodations, salary structures, broadcast quality, and arena conditions. For the first time in league history, millions of casual sports fans tuned in and began asking one simple but devastating question. Why is it like this? For decades, the WNBA operated in a kind of protective obscurity. Low viewership meant low pressure, and low pressure allowed structural problems to continue without national embarrassment. But Caitlin Clark's arrival tore the curtain wide open. New fans saw WNBA players flying commercial flights while their male counterparts traveled on private charters. And suddenly, the contrast was impossible to ignore. Overnight, it became a national conversation. When viewers saw the differences in arena quality, broadcast production, and media access, the contrast was impossible to ignore. And here's the most important part. The audience didn't turn away, they leaned in. People who had never watched a single WNBA game before May 2024 were suddenly following the Indiana Fever the way fans follow NFL franchises. They were memorizing rosters, tracking stats, and debating player rotations in barbershops, group chats, and around dinner tables. One father, Jason Smith, brought his 9-year-old daughter, Autumn, to a Fever road game in Washington, D.C., their very first WNBA game. She told reporters she loved Clark's three-point shots and her passing. Within weeks, their family were following 4 different teams. That is the spotlight effect. It's not just about one player being great. It's about one player being so magnetic that the fans she brings in stay, even when the spotlight shifts elsewhere. They stay. They become fans of the sport, not just the player. Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles attended a Fever game in August 2024, her first ever WNBA game, and shared it publicly. Her message was simple but powerful. Everyone watches women's sports. The meaning was clear. If the greatest gymnast in history is showing up, maybe you should too. Clark didn't just fill seats, she created a permission structure. She made it culturally acceptable, even culturally necessary, for mainstream sports fans to care about women's basketball. And once that door opened, it never closed. Now it's time. I'm revealing the correct answer. And the answer is D. Who got it right? Let's see in the comments. Numbers don't lie. I'm going to give you the numbers, and I want you to sit with them, because they are staggering. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged 4,700 fans per home game. In 2024, with Caitlin Clark on the roster, they averaged over 17,000. That's not a percentage increase, that's a multiplication. The Fever became the first team in WNBA history to draw more than 340,000 fans in a single season. Even more incredible, over 500,000 people attended Fever games, home and away, across the 31 games Clark played. To put that into perspective, The Fever surpassed their entire 2023 home attendance in just their first 5 home games of 2024. 4 opposing teams, Washington, Atlanta, Las Vegas and Los Angeles, moved their home games against the Fever to larger NBA arenas just to meet ticket demand. The Mystics moved a game to Capital One Arena, drawing 20,333 fans, the highest attendance for a regular season WNBA game in 17 years. They did it again for the season finale, which pulled 20,711 fans, setting a new all-time record after an iconic performance. Now let's talk about television. The WNBA attracted over 54 million unique viewers across all networks in 2024, an all-time record. 22 regular season games drew at least 1 million viewers, and Caitlin Clark was involved in all but 3 of them. On the list of the season's most-watched games, you had to scroll down to number 15 to find one that didn't feature the Fever. Viewership on ESPN platforms averaged 1.19 million per game, a 170% increase from the previous year. The 7 most-watched WNBA games in ESPN history all happened in 2024. CBS recorded its 5 most-watched WNBA broadcasts ever. NBA TV quadrupled its WNBA viewership. 6 different networks, ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, CBS, ION, and NBA TV, each aired their most-watched WNBA game in history, all in the same season. The All-Star Game, featuring Clark alongside Angel Reese against the U.S. Olympic team, drew 3.44 million viewers. The previous record, set in 2003, was 1.44 million. Clark didn't just break the record, she buried it. And then there's the money. Forbes valued the Indiana Fever as the second most valuable WNBA franchise at $370 million, crediting Clark's popularity as a primary driver. The team led the league in revenue, earning an estimated $32 million in 2024. The Common Sense Institute of Iowa estimated that the Caitlin Clark effect boosted Iowa's GDP by $14 to $52 million during her college career alone, generating approximately $82.5 million in consumer spending. Google searches for the WNBA rose over 300% year-over-year. Searches for Clark skyrocketed over 850% compared to 5 years ago, and nearly 1,400% compared to a decade ago. Now here's the number that might matter most. According to Q Scores, which measure public awareness and popularity, 44% of Americans know who Caitlin Clark is. That's higher than Aaron Judge at 30%, higher than Mike Trout at 25%, and higher than Shohei Ohtani at 23%. A WNBA rookie, in her very first professional season, became more recognizable to the American public than 3 of Major League Baseball's biggest stars. These are not incremental gains. This is a paradigm shift. And every single data point traces back to one player: resistance and validation. Now comes the uncomfortable part of the story, and it needs to be told honestly, because it reveals something important about what happens when disruption enters any system. Caitlin Clark was not universally welcomed into the WNBA, even before she had played a single professional game. The conversation was already divided. Some celebrated her arrival as the catalyst the league had been waiting for, while others questioned why she was receiving a level of attention that veterans who had built the league over decades had never enjoyed. Very quickly, the debate became tangled in questions of race, media equity, and the unequal distribution of visibility in women's sports. On the court, Clark's welcome was physical. In her early games, she absorbed hard fouls that went far beyond typical rookie hazing. A flagrant foul from Chicago's Diamond DeShields, a controversial hip check from Chendi Carter that sent Clark crashing to the floor and went viral, and a hit from Angel Reese that caught Clark in the head. These moments became national flashpoints, debated not just on sports networks but across mainstream news and social media. Off the court, the friction was just as sharp. WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes publicly misstated facts about Clark's college career, incorrectly claiming she had played 5 seasons and taken an excessive number of shots per game. Diana Taurasi issued a cryptic warning before the season, saying reality was about to hit incoming rookies, a remark widely interpreted as being directed at Clark. And perhaps most significantly, Clark was left off the U.S. Olympic roster for the 2024 Paris Games, a decision that sparked fierce public debate and was viewed by many fans as a deliberate snub. NBA Hall of Famer Charles Barkley, never known to hold back his opinions, addressed the situation on the Bill Simmons podcast. He called Clark's treatment driven by petty jealousy, pointing out that she was bringing unprecedented money, attention, and visibility to the league, only to be undermined rather than embraced. He praised Clark for staying silent, keeping her head down, and letting her game speak. And here's the thing: the audience spoke louder than any criticism. Every controversial moment, every flagrant foul, every roster omission only fueled more attention for Clark and the WNBA. The fans who were drawn to her didn't leave when the controversy started. They dug in. They bought more tickets. They watched more games. They engaged more passionately. The resistance, ironically, became fuel. The Fever began the season 1-8. They looked overmatched. Critics sharpened their knives. Then something shifted. Clark adapted. She became faster, tougher. She began reading defenses with the precision of a 10-year veteran. The Fever caught fire, finishing 20-20 and clinching a playoff berth for the first time in 8 years, ending the longest postseason drought in WNBA history. Clark finished her rookie season averaging 19.2 points and a league-leading 8.4 assists per game. She set the WNBA single-season assist record with 337 and the single-game assist record with 19, and recorded 2 triple-doubles, a feat only 8 players in league history had ever accomplished more than once. She won Rookie of the Year unanimously. The resistance didn't stop her. It validated her. Comparisons to legends: when people try to explain the Caitlin Clark effect, they reach for the biggest names in sports history. And for once, the comparisons aren't exaggerations. They are structurally accurate. Start with Michael Jordan. When Jordan entered the NBA in 1984, the league was struggling. Attendance was falling. Television ratings were weak. Several franchises teetered on the edge of collapse. Then Jordan arrived and changed everything. Not just because he was great, but because he became a cultural phenomenon. He turned the NBA into must-watch television, transformed sneakers into a billion-dollar industry, and gave the league a face that transcended basketball. Clark is doing the same for the WNBA. Before her, the league was surviving. After her, it is growing. The parallel is undeniable. Then consider LeBron James. When he was drafted first overall in 2003, the Cavaliers were among the league's worst teams. Within a year, attendance soared, TV ratings exploded, and cities that had never cared about Cleveland basketball suddenly tuned in. LeBron didn't just lift his team, he lifted the entire league. Clark's impact on the Fever mirrors that path almost exactly. A franchise stuck in irrelevance, 7 years without playoffs, near the bottom in attendance, suddenly became the hottest ticket in women's sports. One player, one draft pick. Everything changed. Now think about Tiger Woods. Before Tiger, golf appealed to a narrow audience. After him, it became a global spectacle. He didn't just win tournaments, he expanded the entire sport's reach. He brought in fans who had never considered watching golf. That's what Clark has done for women's basketball. She didn't just bring in fans of the women's game, she brought in fans of sports, period. Charles Barkley even compared Clark's court vision to Jason Kidd, one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, praising her ability to control pace, anticipate plays, and trust her teammates. The point isn't that Clark is Jordan, LeBron, or Tiger. The point is that she occupies the same structural role, the center of gravity around which everything turns. And history shows that when a figure like that arrives, a league is never the same again. Authenticity is power. What numbers and comparisons can't fully explain is the quality that separates a star from a phenomenon: authenticity. In an era of carefully curated public images, media-trained responses, and safe messaging, Clark is refreshingly real. She celebrates big shots with raw emotion. She talks trash when the moment demands it. She shows frustration after bad calls. She nearly earned her 7th technical foul in a single season, needing teammates to physically pull her away from referees. And fans love her for it. Because you can fake talent for a while. You can fake composure for a while. But you can't fake caring, and Clark cares deeply. You see it in the way she sprints back on defense. In the way she claps for teammates from the bench. In her direct, thoughtful post-game interviews. When she was left off the Olympic roster, she didn't complain. She didn't subtweet. She simply acknowledged the disappointment and went back to work. When the All-Star game arrived, she responded by delivering 10 assists, dominating the flow of the game in front of a national audience of 3.44 million viewers. When hard fouls knocked her down, she got back up. She didn't play the victim. She walked to the line and hit her free throws. The message was clear: you can knock me down, but you can't knock me out. That resilience is what separates Clark from being merely talented. Plenty can shoot. Plenty can pass. Very few can withstand the blend of physical aggression, media scrutiny, and cultural pressure she faced, and emerge stronger. Her authenticity has created something marketers have tried to manufacture for decades: real emotional connection. Fans don't just watch Clark, they root for her. They feel her frustration. They celebrate her joy. That bond cannot be engineered. It only comes from being real. And that is her greatest advantage. In a world saturated with manufactured personalities, Clark's authenticity is a superpower. It's why fathers bring their daughters to games. It's why Simone Biles sits courtside. It's why barbershops debate her assist totals. The authenticity is the product, and the product is selling. Caitlin Clark changed the game. But the story isn't finished. The arenas are full. The headlines are written. The world is watching. But one season doesn't rewrite history. Can the WNBA turn one moment of brilliance into a lasting era? Will the next generation rise to meet the standard she set? Or will the league fade once the spotlight shifts? The answers remain unclear. But one thing is certain: the game has changed, and everyone who loves basketball will be watching when the next chapter begins.